Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's try out one of Dharma's newest ice dye colors called Snow Maiden. I'm going to do a roll design on this shirt. So I have this shirt laying flat on my table and I'm going to use a washable marker to make a diagonal line from the shoulder area to the opposite corner of the hem. I'm making my line kind of wavy. I'm going to use this as a guide and I'm going to begin at one end of the line and start to roll the shirt really tight. And as I'm rolling the shirt, I'm going to encourage the fabric on either side of the line to roll as well. So normally to try out new dye colors, I like to do what's called an incline twist. And that makes a very long design, which allows the dye to travel the full length of that shirt and the dye colors to split out. But this time I'm going to try it on a roll design. I think I'll kind of get the same effect because I am leaving a long enough fold. And then I'm going to incline the shirt so that will hopefully allow the dye to be able to travel down the shirt and split out into the cool color splits. With these roll designs, you can do them however you want to. You can fold the shirt, not fold the shirt, do straight lines, diagonal lines, curved lines. It's just up to you. And for the most part, I think most of these roll designs turn out looking really cool. Okay, now that the shirt is rolled, I'm going to fold the shirt over right on that line that I rolled. And then the long part of the shirt that's hanging down, I'm going to fold that up into the rest of the design and hold all of this design together with some kite string. Now I'm going to place the shirt down inside of a piece of vinyl guttering and tie a piece of kite string around the end of the shirt and attach the other end of the kite string to the guttering with a metal clip. This will help keep the shirt from sliding out of the guttering when I put it at an incline. To incline the shirt, I'm going to place it inside of a plastic tote, and this plastic tote is about a 28 quart tote. It has sides that are approximately 6 inches tall. I'm going to place one end down inside of the tote and leave the other end of the guttering hanging over the edge. That's going to place the shirt at an incline. For this design, I'm going to place dye both under the ice and over the ice. So I'm going to begin by adding a coat of the Snow Maiden over the top of the shirt. Now I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of dry soda ash over the top of the dye, and then I'm going to place on a chunk of ice. And the chunk of ice that I'm going to use, I've made inside of a plastic container, which I purchased from the Dollar Tree. I believe that this was intended for pencils, like to put inside of a desk, but it fits perfectly over the top of these pieces of vinyl guttering. So I just partially fill it with water and freeze them, and they work really well on these inclined ice dyes. I have a little bit of extra space up at the top of the ice, so I'm going to add a few ice cubes up there too. These are some larger ice cubes that I make in some silicone ice molds. Then I'm going to lightly sprinkle the Snow Maiden over the top of the ice. I placed the container aside and allowed the ice to melt. And after this layer of ice melted, I came back and checked it, and it looked like I had quite a bit of white left on the shirt. At least it wasn't as dark or as saturated as I wanted it to be. So I went ahead and turned the shirt over and applied some more of the Snow Maiden to the back side of the shirt. I also focused on any areas like on the sides of the shirt that seemed like they were pretty light in color. I added some more soda ash over the top and another large chunk of ice. This time I didn't add any more additional dye over the top of the ice. And after this second layer of ice melted, I came back and checked the shirt again. I did have a little bit of undissolved dye on top, so I went ahead and added a third chunk of ice to the top. After the third chunk of ice melted, I went ahead and took this shirt, placed it down inside of a plastic tote that has a metal rack in the bottom, placed the lid on the tote, and put it outside where it was nice and warm. That will allow the shirt to process in the heat. And I allowed it to process for about 48 hours before I began rinsing it. To rinse the shirt, I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I warmed the water up to hot and I rinsed in hot water to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. I also untied the shirt and decided to go ahead and soak it instead of just rinsing for a long time. To do that, I placed the shirt in my utility sink, added some really hot water, along with a little bit of Blue Dawn dish soap. I allowed the shirt to soak, and when the water cooled off, I changed it out, and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I placed the shirt along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent into my washing machine, and I washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt has been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? Because I think this color is really cool. I'm really glad that I got the color splits. I was a little concerned with as much dye as I kept adding to the shirt that the color splits wouldn't show up quite as well. But I ended up with some really pretty splits on this shirt. I have some obviously blues, varying shades of blue, some grayish tones, kind of some purple type tones. I also have some hints of green. It's just a really pretty color. And I really like the dye flow on this design. I think it looks really pretty. You'll see on the mannequin, the sides even look interesting when you look at them. The way the dye kind of flows and it forms a little bit of a design on the side of the shirt. I think that's cool too. I also got pretty good color saturation on this shirt. I do have just a few light areas in this shirt, but I actually like that because I think it breaks up the design a little bit. And they're not pure white. They are kind of tinged or hinted with color. The very top part of the shirt is the darkest portion of the shirt, but that's where I ended my design. So that area was on the outside of the shirt where the dye actually got applied. So that part is the darkest area of blue, and then it gets a little bit lighter as it goes down to where I started the design or started rolling the design, because those were the areas of the shirt that were on the very inside part. As thick as this shirt was after it was rolled, I'm really pleased with the saturation that I ended up with. I think I got really good saturation. Now, I did add quite a bit of dye, but I still think it worked out really well. So overall, I love the shirt. I really love this color. I think it's really pretty. But what do you guys think? Have you tried the new Snow Maiden from Dharma Trading Company? If you have, what kind of a design have you used it on, and what did you think about it? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.